This pattern of institutional resistance to survivor input represents more than just bureaucratic inertia. It reflects calculated decisions about resource allocation, risk tolerance, and organizational priorities that have shaped military youth safety policies for 5 decades. The true scope of these decisions becomes clear when examining the financial calculations that drive institutional behavior. The cost of institutional inertia, financial and human toll, settlement payments, and compensation costs reveal the staggering financial burden of maintaining inadequate safety standards. The 2017 Valcartier settlement provided up to $310,000 to each survivor and their families to cover pain, suffering, and medical expenses. However, this compensation represented just the documented portion of costs that accumulate when basic safety failures occur. Government actuaries estimate that lifetime care costs for Valcartier survivors will continue growing as they age and develop additional health complications related to their injuries. Recent training accidents have generated additional settlement costs that demonstrate the escalating financial burden of institutional inertia. Individual incidents can quickly accumulate expenses when basic safety failures occur, with medical evacuation, specialized trauma care, and legal proceedings generating immediate costs before any settlement negotiations begin. These expenses reveal how accident costs compound over time, creating financial obligations that persist for decades after initial incidents. Comprehensive safety reforms that could prevent these accidents would cost substantially less than the ongoing expenses of dealing with their consequences. Military safety experts estimate that implementing independent civilian oversight, mandatory safety audits, and enhanced training protocols across all Canadian Forces bases would require significantly less investment than the amounts already spent on accident-related settlements and ongoing medical care. This represents a false economy where maintaining inadequate safety standards costs more than fixing them would require. The hidden costs of institutional reputation damage extend far beyond direct financial settlements and medical expenses. Military recruitment has become increasingly difficult as public awareness of safety failures grows through social media and independent journalism. The Canadian military currently faces a shortage of up to 14,000 qualified personnel, with leaked internal reports suggesting that training delays and difficulty adjusting to military life are major factors in new recruits quitting during training programs. Budget allocation patterns reveal that safety measures consistently receive lower priority than other military spending categories. Overall safety budgets have declined in real terms since 2018, according to leaked internal reports, even as incident rates have increased across multiple training programs. During the same periods, the military has maintained substantial spending on communications equipment, vehicle maintenance, and facility upgrades at bases that do not host youth programs. These allocation decisions demonstrate institutional priorities that consistently undervalue safety investments relative to operational and equipment expenditures. Military personnel who raise safety concerns or report violations face career costs that discourage transparency and accountability. Personnel files show that individuals who report safety problems experience longer promotion timelines, reduced performance evaluations, and assignment to less desirable positions. These career consequences create financial penalties for military families when safety advocates lose advancement opportunities and associated salary increases, further discouraging the kind of transparency that could prevent accidents. International military partnerships and training exchanges suffer measurable damage from Canada's reputation for inadequate youth safety standards. Several joint training programs have been suspended or modified due to concerns about Canadian safety protocols. These cancelled programs represented substantial shared costs and training opportunities that benefited Canadian military development. European partners have also expressed reluctance to include Canadian youth programs in international exchanges, citing insurance concerns and liability issues that stem from Canada's inferior safety record. Long-term healthcare costs associated with training accident injuries and trauma represent the largest hidden expense of inadequate safety standards. Veterans Affairs Canada currently provides ongoing medical support for numerous individuals injured in military youth training accidents since 1974. Annual healthcare costs for this population continue growing as survivors age and develop additional health complications related to their injuries. Psychiatric care represents the fastest growing expense category, with trauma-related mental health treatment costs increasing substantially in recent years. The absence of adequate medical and mental health support until the 2017 Apology and Compensation Agreement created additional burdens for accident victims and their families. Many survivors report that they received minimal psychological support for decades after their trauma, forcing them to seek private care or go without treatment entirely. The delayed recognition of these needs meant that problems compounded over time, creating more expensive and complex treatment requirements when support was finally provided. Equipment replacement and facility repair costs following training accidents add substantial amounts to the financial burden of safety failures. Individual incidents can require complete renovation of training facilities, with specialized equipment contaminated during accidents requiring disposal through expensive hazardous material procedures. These cleanup costs represent pure waste that provides no benefit to accident victims or safety improvements. Legal costs associated with defending against civil lawsuits represent another significant expense that could be eliminated through comprehensive safety reforms. Defending military training accident cases costs substantial amounts per incident, even when cases are settled out of court. These legal expenses accumulate regardless of settlement outcomes, representing expenditures that provide no benefit to accident victims or safety improvements. The cumulative evidence demonstrates that maintaining inadequate safety standards costs Canadian taxpayers far more than implementing comprehensive reforms would require. The financial argument for change becomes overwhelming when direct costs, hidden expenses, and opportunity costs are calculated together, revealing that institutional inertia represents not just a moral failure, but a profound economic miscalculation. Yet despite these clear financial incentives for reform, the military continues to invest in technological solutions rather than addressing the fundamental cultural problems that enable safety failures. Technology versus culture. Why modern tools aren't enough. The sophisticated digital inventory systems now deployed across Canadian forces bases represent substantial investments in safety technology, yet they remain only as reliable as the personnel who operate them. These systems can track ordnance movement and generate detailed reports about every interaction with dangerous materials, creating electronic records that should prevent the kind of inventory confusion that led to the 1974 tragedy. However, the fundamental challenge lies not in the technology's capabilities, but in how military personnel choose to use these tools within existing institutional cultures. Recent incidents demonstrate how advanced safety systems fail when personnel treat technological safeguards as obstacles rather than essential protections. Investigation reports reveal cases where digital inventory systems correctly identified potential problems, but multiple personnel ignored automated warnings because they assumed the alerts represented system malfunctions rather than genuine safety concerns. The technology performed exactly as designed, but human operators chose to override safety recommendations to maintain operational schedules and avoid administrative delays. Digital monitoring systems face constant circumvention by personnel who view technological requirements as impediments to efficient training operations. Military instructors report feeling frustrated by systems that require multiple verification steps and electronic approvals for routine activities. This frustration becomes particularly pronounced when personnel operate under pressure to complete training within limited timeframes or maintain demanding schedules. The tendency to bypass safety systems reveals how operational priorities consistently override technological protections when institutional culture fails to support comprehensive safety practices. The most sophisticated safety technology becomes ineffective when personnel receive inadequate training in both its operation and its underlying safety philosophy. Many military installations have implemented expensive digital systems without providing comprehensive education about their proper use or safety importance. Personnel often receive brief technical instruction on system operation while missing crucial understanding of why these measures exist and how to integrate them effectively into existing workflows. This training gap creates situations where individuals can technically operate safety technology while completely failing to embrace its protective purpose. Over-reliance on technological solutions has created new categories of safety vulnerabilities that did not exist in simpler systems. Personnel now place excessive trust in digital verification, assuming that computer confirmation eliminates the need for human judgment and direct physical inspection. This technological dependency becomes dangerous when individuals proceed with activities based solely on electronic data without conducting the visual verification that could reveal obvious safety problems. The assumption that digital systems provide complete protection can actually reduce the careful attention that effective safety requires. The integration of multiple technological systems creates complex interactions that sometimes produce unexpected safety failures. Modern military installations use separate systems for inventory tracking, access control, personnel scheduling, and incident reporting, but these systems often fail to communicate effectively with each other. Personnel must navigate conflicting information from different technological sources, leading them to resolve discrepancies by choosing administrative convenience rather than maximum safety protection. Budget constraints significantly limit the deployment of available safety technologies across the military system. While newer installations may have comprehensive digital safety systems, many older facilities continue operating with equipment that lacks current capabilities. This creates inconsistent technological environments where personnel moving between bases encounter different systems with varying levels of sophistication and reliability. The patchwork of technological capabilities means that safety protections depend heavily on which facility personnel happen to be using rather than consistent standards across all military youth programs. The gap between available safety technology and actual implementation reveals fundamental problems with how the military approaches technological solutions. Advanced systems exist that could virtually eliminate possibilities for dangerous mistakes, but procurement processes often select less capable options based primarily on cost considerations rather than safety effectiveness. The military frequently purchases basic versions of safety technology while declining enhanced features that would provide superior protection, creating situations where technological capabilities are deliberately limited to reduce expenses. Organizational hierarchy and communication patterns consistently neutralize technological safety measures through human decision-making processes that prioritize operational demands over safety protocols. Base commanders face pressure to maintain training schedules and demonstrate operational readiness, creating incentives to minimize safety delays even when technological systems indicate potential problems. Middle-level officers find themselves caught between safety system requirements and operational expectations, leading to decisions that compromise technological safeguards in favor of mission completion. The military's resistance to external oversight of technological systems prevents independent verification that safety technology is being used effectively. Civilian safety experts are typically excluded from reviewing how military personnel interact with safety systems, making it impossible to identify cultural problems that undermine technological effectiveness. Internal military reviews focus on technical compliance rather than examining whether personnel genuinely embrace the safety culture that makes technology effective. Current technological solutions address the technical aspects of safety failures while ignoring the institutional and cultural factors that enable those failures to occur. Advanced systems can monitor every aspect of ordnance handling on military bases, but they cannot change attitudes that prioritize operational efficiency over thorough safety verification. Digital access controls can restrict who handles dangerous materials, but they cannot ensure that authorized personnel will exercise appropriate caution and judgment when using those materials. The fundamental lesson emerging from decades of technological development is that safety systems remain vulnerable to the same human errors and institutional pressures that caused the Valcartier disaster. Without addressing the cultural factors that led to that tragedy, even the most sophisticated safety technology cannot prevent the repetition of similar failures. The solution requires more than technological advancement. It demands comprehensive reform of the institutional attitudes and practices that consistently undermine safety protection.